Dungeons & Dragons becomes a possibility on this date. Welcome back to On This Date. Today's date is March 4th, 2024. It is the 64th day of the year. There are 302 days left in 2024. It's the 10th Monday in the 10th week and the 75th day of winter. You got 15 days left until spring. Today is National Pound Cake Day. For those who are looking for a super rich cake, it's almost impossible to go wrong with the classic, delicious pound cake. Made from the standard cake ingredients, butter, sugar, eggs, flour, a pound cake lives up to the name as the equal ratio of all the ingredients result in quite the thick, heavy cake that is ultimately delicious. That's what it says on their website. For some reason, that just didn't flow properly. I'd like to call them and ask them to redo their website. That was weird. Anyway, all right, let's see what else March 4th has given us. 1681, Charles II grants a land charter to William Penn for the area that will later become Pennsylvania. Yes, they were giving away whole states back then. You know, when you can give a guy a gift of 46,000 square miles, you've got too much land. If you don't know who William Penn is, he lived from October 1644 to August 10th, 1718. He was an English writer, religious thinker, and influential Quaker who founded the Providence, at the time, of Pennsylvania during the British colonial era. So back in 1681, King Charles II was like, hey, I owe Penn's dad, Sir William Penn, who was a big deal admiral at the time and politician, I owe him a ton of money. How about I give his son a massive chunk of my land in North America to make things right? Keep in mind, technically this wasn't even land he owned, he claimed it. So he hands over what is now known as Pennsylvania and Delaware to William Penn. That's a pretty sweet deal, right? The next year, Penn packs his bag and heads off to what was then British America. He sails up the Delaware Bay and the Delaware River, cruising past old Swedish and Dutch colonies, landing in what's now Newcastle, Delaware. Once he got there, the locals were like, cool, I guess you're in charge now. Since he had papers from the king, everyone said, okay, you're now the new boss. Well, he wasn't one to just sit around and relax. He moved upriver and decided to set up shop in Philadelphia on the Western Bank. Now, the Quaker way of doing things didn't exactly win him fans amongst the Dutch, Swedish, and English folks already living there. So his reception upriver was a little bit different from downriver. The people who'd already settled there said, nah, we got our own thing going on. And they started asking for their own assembly. Fast forward 23 years to 1704, they finally get their wish. The three southernmost counties in Pennsylvania, right along the Delaware River, get the green light to do their own thing. And this was the birth of the Delaware colony. Newcastle, which was an old school Swedish colony at the time, got the honor of being the first capital. A little bit of a plot twist in America. A man of deep religious convictions, Penn authored numerous works telling believers to adhere to the spirit of primitive Christianity, and eventually got imprisoned several times in the Tower of London due to his faith and his book, No Cross, No Crown. You know where he wrote that book? In the Tower of London. Had a little time on his hands while he's doing his sentence. 1933, FDR becomes the 32nd president of the United States. He was the last president to be inaugurated on March 4th. 1957, the S&P 500 stock market index is introduced, replacing the S&P 90. 1985, the Food and Drug Administration approves the blood test for HIV infection, used since then for screening all blood donations in the United States. 1990, American basketball player Hank Gathers dies after collapsing during the semifinals of the West Coast Conference tournament game. They were playing the Portland Pilots, and he had just dunked the ball, had a pretty good shot, took about 3 or 4 steps away and collapsed. Took him to Marina Del Rey Hospital and he passed away. Now, they knew he had a heart condition. On December 9th, 1989, Gathers collapsed at a LMU home game. He played for Loyola Marymount, but he was found to have an abnormal heartbeat and was prescribed beta blockers. However, Gathers felt that the medication adversely affected his play and his dosage was gradually cut back. Originally prescribed 240 milligrams per day, was eventually cut down to 40 milligrams per day. Gathers returned after sitting out for 3 weeks and missing 2 games. Now, he was going to be in the NBA. Everyone says he was going to the NBA and all that. He was a really good player. When he came back after taking a few weeks off, he wasn't up to his game. He was slower. He was struggling to play. Finally gets to the March 4th game, and that was that, sadly. And of course, right away, everyone came out and said it had something to do with drugs because of Len Bias. Len Bias was the same fast track at the NBA. He was a college player for Maryland, and he was at a party doing the Devil's Dandruff. which was a very popular white powdery substance in the 1980s, which I can't say the name because I'll get demonetized. He was the second overall pick in the 1986 NBA draft on June 17th. He passed away on June 19th that same year, 2 days later. And so yeah, when Hank Gathers went down, that's what everyone was saying happened. Premiered on March 4th, 1997, Just Shoot Me. This was a pretty good sitcom. It follows the day-to-day work life of a magazine company where conflicts grow heated, especially after the boss hires his daughter to work for him. This had David Spade in it. It had George Siegel, Wendy Malick. It was a great show. I really liked it. The show lasted 7 seasons and 148 episodes. It was nominated for 6 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Supporting Actor and Actress in a Comedy Series in 1999. Born on March 4th, 1954, Catherine O'Hara, actress, writer, and comedian who became known for her roles in Beetlejuice and Home Alone. She played Dr. Orwell in that show that was on Netflix, A Series of Unfortunate Events. That was pretty good. My kids liked that. She was an understudy for Gilda Radner on Saturday Night Live and was later given the opportunity for the position on the show, but she turned it down, and the position was given to Robin Duke. She was on SCTV with John Candy. Died on March 4th, 1994, John Candy. Lovable comedian from Uncle Buck, Great Outdoors, Spaceballs, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, who died at the age of 43. His other films included National Lampoon's Vacation, The Rescuers Down Under, Cool Runnings, Wagons East, and Magic 7. John Candy played football for an all-boys Catholic school in Canada, and in 1973 made his film debut in Class of 44. He starred in Michael Moore's Canadian Bacon, which was released a year after his death. John Candy had all kinds of health problems. He was a very large man, and he died in his sleep at the age of 43 on March 4th, 1994 in Durango City, Mexico, while filming Wagons East. A spokesman said Candy's cause of death was a heart attack. He tended to binge eat in response to his professional struggles. He weighed over 300 pounds. He drank, smoked, was overweight, and enjoyed the devil's dandruff as well. Today we get a twofer. Died on this day. 2008, Gary Gygax, famous co-creator of the popular Dungeons & Dragons role-playing fantasy game and as the co-founder of the International Federation of Wargamers. He is also known for writing work of Troll Lord games and for his contributions to the games Dangerous Journeys and Castles and Crusades, which was a knockoff of Dungeons & Dragons. I may have told this story before, but my brother was a colonel in the army, and when he was in Iraq, he gets this new captain or lieutenant or something, and his last name was Gygax, and so he comes in for the first meeting, and he's like, Captain Gygax, how are you? He goes, you're the only other person I've ever seen with that name, the guy that created Dungeons & Dragons, and the guy goes, yeah, that's my dad. So I thought that was funny. Gary Gygax was diagnosed with a potential deadly abdominal aortic aneurysm. Doctors concurred that surgery was needed, but their estimate of success varied from 50 to 90%. No firm medical consensus. Gygax came to believe that he would just die on the table and refuse the surgery. And he passed away on March 4th, 2008. He was 69 years old. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.